Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Are you getting yourself ready for our show?
Everybody, how you doing? It's been one hell of a 7-day stretch here for your old boys here at Jigs and Bigs. We have a doozy of a show. I mean, we have so much that has happened. Like, I'm talking about epic highs, epic ridiculous lows. Truthfully, if I'm being completely straightforward with you guys, like, this has been an emotional roller coaster ride all week long for everybody. I got Shawn the Fisherman with us. We have no guest in the beef seat, but that is such a good thing because I would hate to have to upload a 5-hour podcast for you guys because we have so much to dive into. Big shout out to everybody who's all of our jig heads that are over here in the unlisted YouTube. Going to contribute a little bit. Have a good one. Yes, Roadkill Nick, I am in fact hitting record. I'm telling you guys, I'm really excited to it. Let's go ahead. I got a beer to crack open. Let's get this sucker started right about now. All right, what do you say? I'll tell you what, it is a little bit of a different situation here at the old Disco Dungeon with Bobby Roast Beef because instead of sipping coffee tonight, I am cracking open a specialty IPA to enjoy for this. I feel this has been a weekend or a week to celebrate, really. In a lot of ways. We're going to celebrate wins. We're going to celebrate some losses. We're going to celebrate some accomplishments. And we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Shawn, how are you doing today, buddy? What's up?
Dude, I am fresh off the road from a KBF event at Candlewood. When I say fresh off the road, I literally pulled into my driveway 35 minutes ago and said, I need to just unload the smelly stuff out of my truck. Give me 30 minutes. And you were like, you got 35, buddy. And to quote a wonderful pizza maker that I met this weekend.
Yes.
I love you, buddy.
I love you, buddy.
Love you,
got you, buddy.
I love you, buddy. Look at you. Is that a victory drink or a drink of sorrow? Because
that is a victory drink, 100% so. And I wouldn't crack this can open because there's no longer any more that I can find on the planet anywhere. This is, and I know Alex Swamp Rat Fishing will get a kick out of this. He's a big beer guy. Again, I love local beers. Berkshire Brewing Company, one of the OG craft beers for the Valley, and this is their it's a riff off their Inhognito, which is one of their IPAs called Jalapeno. And Jalapeno is basically their IPA that blends pineapple and jalapeno, and it is so good. Oh, it is so good.
Can I share a Berkshire Brewing experience? So,
Please.
way back in the day, I'm talking 2005, 2006, back before I, closed the book on my drinking days, wrote that final chapter and said, I've had enough.
Yep.
Did you ever get one of those big old growlers from them?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Specifically, I've had them in Coffee House Porter, Lost Sailor, far too often, and of course Steel Rail.
Yeah, this was so long ago. I cannot remember what the exact. It might have been just their IPA at the time.
Yeah,
whatever their IPA is. I drank one of those in a sitting. And that was when I had a
the
tolerance.
growler?
Yeah, I was fucked up.
You start saying some interesting shit.
No, my brother came home. We were both. That was when I had moved back into the house for a time. I think my brother was living there still too. And the next morning, he's like, "What the fuck was wrong with you last night?" I go, "Oh, I drank that whole growler. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I was wasted." He goes, "Yeah, you were." I'm not going to tell you what the results were, but I was fucked up. So that's the Berkshire Brewing Company. Good beer. We'll get you fucked up.
And in most delicious of fashion too.
Yes.
Oh, look at this. We got so many people in here, man.
Holy shit.
Nelson's in here. We got Damien from Stretching Lines in here. This is great. This is good. This is good.
Do we have to record Sunday nights now? I mean, this is the most turnout we've had.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I would love to record on Sunday nights.
Let's fucking do it.
I think if we could make that our thing, God, this is such a great way to end the night, man. Amazing day. The great steak dinner with the family. Like, we had such a good time. Like, just unbelievable weekend. Like, fantastic. So where should we start with all this? Do you just kind of want to walk through the week?
I don't remember anything prior to Friday at this point. Like, I would have to look to see what I did.
Gotcha. Let me start breaking down then where we went. Let's go. Sunday night streams. I kind of like that idea.
What Swamp Rat says goes. Let's fucking do it.
How it works, man.
We just changed our schedule. There you go. The people have spoken.
So let's go ahead and jump into it. After we recorded the last show, there was a few things that kind of had gone down. We had, at that point, it was Tuesday. The show had come out. We had Charlie Soche on. Great interview with Charlie. Like, just, man, talking to that guy is great. I'm really hoping that we get a chance when we're down in that area to fish. Couple of things have gone on this week that are pretty monumental. That sound is my new washer. Alerting me to it's done.
What the fuck was
that? You can hear that, right?
Washer.
I'm like, okay, cool. So the laundry's done. Awesome. Great.
Oh, everything's done. We're done.
It's true.
Done.
No, so Tuesday came around and I had plans to go and fish with Delirious Angler over on Instagram. If you guys aren't following, go check him out. Delirious Angler. He's on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Very, very, very entertaining, quality fishing stuff. You'll learn some shit. And, I love hanging out with D. He's such a good dude. Like, and it's always a blast, always great stories, like, unbelievable. So I get up and I'm on my way to go. And I bring my my daughter to school. This is now, I think, her first full week. Maybe, yeah, I think it's her first full week being back at school. So I drop her off. My youngest goes out to the bus and everything's cool. I'm on my way to meet D at the launch, and he's bringing his boat up, and we're going to go to the spot. It was the spot where I caught my PB about 3 weeks ago, and we go. I'm headed there, and I was not too far away from my daughter's school. I was kind of nearby the house, and I get a phone call. No number listed, so I answer it, and it's my youngest daughter, which is interesting because she doesn't have a phone. And I'm like, "Are you calling from school?" And she says, "No, I'm calling from the Echo in the kitchen." And I go, "That's interesting. Shouldn't you be at school? Didn't you go to the bus?" And she tells me that her bus driver was crazy late or crazy early that, had gone by, and it's okay that she'll just do school remote. Now, my youngest is 11 years old. At 11, right? I don't trust her to complete school or even go. I don't trust her at all. Like, before, when they were both at home and I, was going to fish or something like that, my oldest would check in on her and give me reminders and stuff. And then I could shoot her a text or something as a reminder to keep her on. So I make the executive decision that, nope, I have to go back to the house, pick her up, and go drop her off. Because she's not late. Like, she's not going to be late. There's plenty of time. So I go and I call D and I let him know that I'm running late. So already I'm kind of like, oh, geez, what the hell? What's going on? I drop her off quick. I head over to the launch and I meet D. We're all set. We jump on there. We're having a great time. Getting my sea legs. We're like, we're all working this one bank, and I hook up with this tiny yellow perch. It was actually a pretty good perch. I probably could have entered it in the tournament. I'll bet you it made the at least the 8-inch minimum. At least. Pretty good sized fish. And I I'm going to get this now. I'm fishing with this, and I had just taken a picture of this the day before and posted it on my Instagram. But I had just received from Derek over at Three Bells. He's getting into the bait painting game, and I have some baits for you, Shawn. A couple that you had supplied to him to paint for you.
More to come on that later.
Yes. So, actually much more. And we might be talking about a couple of different things.
Yeah, I've got some news I totally forgot to tell you with all the other shenanigans that went on over the past couple of days, but it's all good. Continue.
So and he said to me, he's like, I'm working on some stuff for Shawn. I got a square bill I want to send up. And I know you're really into, what is it? I know that you're really into perch color and perch pattern lipless. So he's like, I'm going to do one of these for you. So this thing looks so good. Slick, clear coat, like just awesome. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do it. Let's freaking, awesome. I'm psyched. I'm looking forward to it. It shows up. I take a picture of it, tie it on, and I'm like, really looking forward to catching it. I get a fish on with it. First thing, a yellow perch, ironically enough. And I get him over to the boat. Everything's cool. And I reach down carefully to grab the lure as tightly as I can. And it's super glossy. It hasn't been scuffed up at all. You know what I mean? And that fish just kicked one way, a little too hard one way, and drops down. And that hook just caught right in my thumb. So there was an instance, and it was the worst part, where that hook was in my thumb. The rattle trap was attached to it. And on the other hook, that fish had two barbs through his lip, so he was going nowhere. So that's when I needed Delirious to really kind of jump in and like let's ditch the fish and then release him, and then we'll figure the rest of this stuff out. What went on from there? Now, I haven't been hooked in well over 30 years. It's been a long time. But what's funny is the last time I was hooked past the barb, it was the same thumb. I remember it clear as day. I was a little kid putting the rods in the boat and like just being lazy. And I went to drop one of the rods in, and as it slipped down, just popped right in. Tiny little trout hook too, nothing crazy. But I was like, little kid. I'm like, I was mortified. So I go over and I'm D takes the boat out of the wind. And we go over to this one bank area where there's a little bit of clearing. We can get out of the wind and just kind of sit there and deal with this. So I'm trying to disengage the barb and see if I can just kind of push it past and then slide it back, even up a little bit. And it's not moving at all. Like that barb is buried so far, like it's just not moving. So I grab some pliers and I try using a little bit of leverage to try to, again, disengage. And I'm trying to do this. Nothing. It's just not doing it. It's bleeding like a son of a bitch too. So I'm like, son of a bitch. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, if I push it through, I think it's going to go through the nail bed and then hit my nail. Yeah, and I'm like, I know these hooks are sharp. I don't know if they're that sharp. I don't know if I could stay conscious enough, to do that. And so I said, I think we got to try the braid trick. So Dee and I watched a quick YouTube video. The mechanics, I kind of knew, what they were. And when Dee had wrapped the braid around the bend of the hook and I disengaged the barb, and I held my arm as tight as I could to me while disengaging the barb or attempting to disengage the barb, and he pulled, I moved.
Oh.
Yeah, I moved. I'm a 300-plus pound man. I moved. So it's not like D was just like not tugging hard enough or anything like that. No, this is fine. Like it was plenty of force. So we got to say this.
Yeah. This is I don't know if we want to call him retired, no longer playing semi-professional football player.
Yeah. He's no joke. Like
that. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anybody, I thought for sure, I was like, this is going to hurt like a bitch, but this is coming out. You know, and I asked him if he had a first aid kit because my thought was I gotta at least if he put some peroxide in here or get like a bandage on it so I don't bleed all over his boat, and secondly, like get anything in it if I'm catching fish. Like that's usually, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to. We know this river system. We know what kind of filth lives in here. Think of the town that feeds out of this. Come on, It's like Fago and shame that comes down into this river. That's all it is.
It's not even Fago. It's not even Fago and shame. I'm pretty sure there's a number of wastewater treatment facilities that just dump straight in there, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
A lot of brown trout. So
all the brown trout.
Mark Howard's like, really? So, I realize at this point, I'm like, okay, so let me call an urgent care and see if we can get, although he stepped on, wait, hold on. There's a little bit of information coming in here. Damien jumps in and says, we had a good day, although he stepped on a treble. That's a story for him to tell you. Oh, this will be a good one. I'm interested to see how this pans out. But let me continue. So I call an urgent care to see if I could just get in there and have them throw some lidocaine in it and do whatever they got to do and take it out. And they're like, we don't do that. You have to go to the ER. And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how long has it been since I've had a tetanus shot? It's been a while. I stepped on a nail when we bought the house, and that was like 2012. Oh, and so I think that was it. So it was either 2012, 2013, somewhere in that window. So my sister works in a local ER, and I call her and I say, hey, what are the odds that you're working? She's like, I'm not. Why? I explained the situation, and she says to me, she's like, let me make some calls. She's like, I don't have the stuff to do it here. I'd have you just come to my house and I'd do it here, which frightens me because after seeing what the stuff to do this there includes, I don't know why she would need that stuff. But I'm not going to ask any questions. So I get there, and they usher me right back in there, which was awesome. I'm very much appreciative of it. And I asked him, I was like, how often do you guys see this here? Like fish hooks. Like, we're 2 hours from the coast, realistically. I'm like, how often do you see this here? And they're like, way more often than you realize. Way more often. So I'm sitting in the in this one area. I'm sitting on this gurney, or I don't even know what you call it. Not a stretcher, but so I'm sitting on here waiting for them, and he comes in with all the lidocaine. He gives me a big shot of lidocaine. He's like, so we're gonna let that sit for about 10 minutes or so. If it's not numbed up enough, we'll give you another shot. He's like, usually one will do it. We'll see. So I'm sitting there waiting for it. I can't feel anything my entire hand. I know better at this point to not watch. I know better to not watch this. And there happened to be another ER tech that was in the area, and she said she actually had me filling out paperwork beforehand. What I wish I would have had the kind of wherewithal to put together is to grab my phone and record this as video, because I think that would have been gold. But I was signing, release forms and paperwork and all this other stuff, and didn't even think about it. They basically did the braid trick, is what they did. But I have never seen one human being have to use so much force and try so hard to remove a hook from another living being in my life. So, like, the next time I'm talking with somebody and they're like, oh, you like to fish? Doesn't that hurt to fish, you animal? And I'm going to explain to them that, but definitely not for the amount of time that it would hurt us.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Because if you're taking 45 minutes to pull a hook out of a fish, you're doing it wrong.
What if the fish is taking 45 to 50 minutes trying to pull the hook away from you? We'll get into that later. That's a question
that's
for
something
later.
Different. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about that is something completely different. So, they had me in and out of there as quickly as possible. So thanks. Big shout out to everybody at Mercy ER. I appreciate you. It was interesting. I still have the hook. I plan on putting it on my replica. Just because. The other cool thing about this week was that my state pin arrived. Arrived today. Not today. Arrived on, I think it was Wednesday. So that was very, very cool. So that's also going to be going on the mount once I get that all set up and ready to go. So I've got that tucked in a safe place so I don't lose it. Awesome. So
yeah, dude, that's awesome. Congrats, you got that. Congrats, you got the hook out.
Yeah.
What day was that?
That was Tuesday. I was back out fishing. Did I go Wednesday? I didn't fish Wednesday, but I was back out fishing Thursday. Put one on the board? I think I upgraded one.
That was two. Did you get two?
No, not that day. Not that day. It was just one. I think I put two on the board when I had gone out. When I was out with Joe the weekend prior. When I was out with Joe and Wild Bill and Chris Tabari, I put two on then. I upgraded my largemouth on Thursday. I was bed fishing, and tenacity, man. That's what it's all about. Got out there and caught. I upgraded. I think my largemouth was like a 12 and a half, maybe. prior, and then I upgraded to about a 15.5, which is great. That seems to be the magic number for the week. So then after that had gone down, Friday I didn't get out and fish at all, but I did put the kayak on the roof rack on Friday. Yeah, so I was like, I wanted to avoid doing that, but the registration and stuff for the trailer isn't ready, so that ain't gonna happen. I mean, the trailer's not even built yet. So there's more to it. Josh jumps in here and he asks a really good question. He says, he goes, too late for me to join the tourney? No, not at all. We still have another whole week of action. No, more than that, 2 weeks.
A week and a half, because we're going into the first week of June.
We're going into the first week of June. So, yeah, you can absolutely join it. And if you're interested, all you got to do is download the Fishing Chaos app and search Jigs and Bigs. You'll find it. You can just enter right there. The only thing that you really need to have, you can, write your own identifier off of what's provided once you join, but you do need to have a hog trough. We recommend the catch board specifically, and then you're good to go. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here with something about the weekend.
Go ahead.
That is pertinent to that tournament because we're on it. I got a message today from Matt Menard.
Yes.
Okay. Catch actually makes it's a weird system.
Yep.
But it's a foldable catch board, and there's a locking plate that pretty much prevents it from being cut apart. It's really weird. The reason I'm bringing this up is Matt asked about it, and I said, go ahead and get it. It's 48 inches long, so that takes care of pretty much our pike and carp and striper problem. And it Chad Hoover was describing it yesterday at the meeting. He said they have that. We had spoken with Chad. Or actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't like it was part of conversation when after the award ceremony for day one of the tourney number one, which was Saturday. Chad actually sat down and ate his dinner with Lauren and Derek and I, Lauren and Derek from Three Bells. So there was a discussion about those rulers, and Chad happened to say, Catch does make one that is foldable, and the way he described it, I'm going to take a look at it, but I think we're good to go on that. I might even pick one up for myself. So
yeah, that's huge, man. I mean, that's pretty good if they stand up to it, because I know that's always been the issue with the folding one. But I mean, you figure you take one of those folding ones, and that's ideal for a lot of situations.
The way Chad described it is, it's two pieces, right? And it's not hinged, or it's not hinged like typically like you'd see it, but it does come together like this. So there's some sort of a hinge, and then there's a locking plate that slides over it that still allows you to see that this thing has not been monkeyed with in any way. Yeah. So I'm going to take a look at it. I may suggest it, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Matt Menard did ask about it. I said, just go ahead, because I'd like to see it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
be the guinea pig,
Thanks for being the guinea pig.
That's awesome, man. No, that's freaking huge.
Chronologically, as this week went,
I
got out Thursday to pre-fish Candlewood.
That's right, you did.
I've never fished there, so I went out. We had the option. There was a lot of logistical, how do we say this, back and forth between KBF and the state of Connecticut. There were some issues that needed to be ironed out, and Jason, Chad, and Amanda from KBF, thank you guys for ironing them out, because we were able to fish all of Candlewood. There were 2 launches there we were able to use, and then we were able to fish what's called, God, I'm going to screw this name up. I think it's Lily Nona Pond, which is actually kind of a part of the Housatonic River down there.
Yep.
And we were also given Slants Pond, something like that, Stance Pond. I don't know what. There was a pond right near it. So we were given those 3 options. I chose Candlewood because it seemed to have the most options to go if I needed to paddle or whatever, or get out there. I figured it was a bigger area.
Yep.
And I went out and pre-fished, and I got, man, did I catch a lot of fucking rock bass.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rock bass. And then I also caught a largemouth and 2 smallmouth. I did manage to put together a 5 fish limit, but it was a small limit. The largemouth was like 15. I think the 2 smallmouth were 15. And then the 2 little fish, I mean, they were barely 12.
Nice. Josh Escobar's jumping in here.
Thank you.
Squance Pond.
See, I didn't fish it, so I didn't really pay too much attention. But I did get out there. I got a bunch of fish, and I was not feeling very good about it. Now, I went out in the afternoon. I didn't even throw my boat in until almost noon.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I got out there late. I had shit to do.
That's true.
What happened was I dropped the kids off at school, and then I had picked up a bed extender for my truck.
Yep.
And when I did that, it did not come with a pin for the hitch. So I had to go pin shopping, and it took me a while.
Yep.
So I got it. I got down there, all good. And I had that day, and I was not feeling good about it. Now, conversely, Nate Shagnon had gone out and pre-fished. He actually stayed down there for 3 or 4 days at Candlewood at the hotel, got a lot of pre-fishing in. And I think the last 2 days he pre-fished, he broke 90 inches both days.
That's intense. That's crazy.
And I was like, oh shit. I don't know where. He gave me some generalities of where he fished, but there were a lot of fish on beds is what I heard. And I heard that yesterday. The reason I heard that yesterday was all those fish vanished. So things happened. But I went and pre-fished, and I was not feeling confident going into this. I ended up leaving Friday. And Friday evening, I went down. I have a very close friend that lives down in the area, so I stayed with him for the weekend.
Yep.
And yeah, so I hung out there Friday night. We had a nice campfire, and then I woke up early Saturday morning. And you want to jump in for your Saturday morning, and then I'll come back to this shit?
Yeah, let's do that. So Saturday morning was kind of a monumental one, at least on my end, because this whole year that's been going by, you guys are probably familiar when I mentioned my buddy Paul. He and I have been fishing together since like 2012 when we kind of both like fell into bass fishing with artificial lures pretty significantly. And this past year has been really, really crazy, man. Like he has gone. I mean, it went from really once I started the podcast, about 4 or 5 episodes in, he got a diagnosis for pancreatic cancer, and the son of a bitch beat it, like legitimately beat pancreatic cancer. So, like, he's in his position now where he's like, I have a new lease on life. Like, there's stuff that I want to do. And, I mean, that's exactly my point. Like, and when he told me about this initially, my whole thought was, there's so much shit we said we were going to get done, in life. And now we're facing that might not be the case. It's like we might not be able to fish these huge bodies of water and go out with guides and get on, like, record-breaking smallmouth or have these life experiences, So it was like a real, like, reality check. And, you remember a few episodes ago, this was like last February, I think, when he bought his kayak. He was like, I'm going to do it. Let's go. And I'm going to find a kayak. And I had lent some assistance in tracking down numerous from the used market. And he actually bought another, what is it? An Ascend 128T, just like I've been using. And so this was his first, like, the Virgin voyage. Like, this was his first outing with it. He's all kinds of excited. So we get to this one body of water, and this one body of water has a reputation in this area of having a pond record of apparently a 15-pound largemouth. And this can only be verified by a local who, in fact, saw that 15-pound female surrounded by 8-pound males.
Sir, the legend is 10-pound males.
Oh, was it 10?
And that legend might have grown. That legend might have grown for every 30 pack that man down per day since that time. As we all know, that was a Shawn the Fisherman story that was on this very podcast.
Yes, indeed. Everything's coming full circle. That's what it's all about.
It is.
So this pond, what's interesting about this pond is that the deepest spot is 6 feet. But I did notice that based on the maps I was looking at in Navionics, it's much deeper in a lot of other areas, where on the Navionics map, it would measure maybe a foot. I was getting like 4 or 5 feet in between that window. But the deepest pocket in this entire pond is about 6 feet, which to me meant grass like crazy, because it's generally relatively clear to kind of stained, depending on where you are. And I know that it's got a shit ton of vegetation. But with this sun and the weather that we've had over the last few weeks, this has had a head start. So I had put together a couple of ideas of what I was going to throw, and I ran them by Shawn, and Shawn added his 2 cents. A couple of these we aligned on right in order with that worked out really well. Another one of them was not gonna jive at all, just because the water was like frickin' soup with so much algae and shit in there, unreal. So we get out there, and you guys probably have seen the video. I posted a short. Quick video from GoPro on the Jigs and Bigs Instagram. Just some video footage that I had shot on my phone and put this out. So sort of like to document like our outing together. I got on a couple of fish, both of them about 15. And what sucked, this is why I need to get some type of an identifier, or at least just write it on my freaking hand as a backup in the time being, because I caught 2 15s, like 15 and a 15 and a half, and I could have put them in the NE5 and it would have bumped me up there, if nothing else. It wouldn't have helped me in the largemouth category, but that NE5 would have been great to add those in. It could have possibly gotten me another point. So what I really need to start doing is putting the identifier in my hand and being redundant with it and having it. That way it's good to go. But my identifier fell under my seat. And I'm like, I can't get it, so I'm not going to paddle with a fish in hand. I'm like, I'm just going to, mark the spot. That was ultimately my goal. And when Paul bought his kayak, I said, look, why don't you nail down a pond? And you and I, over the next year, 2 years, we'll do nothing but dissect it. Whatever it is, for better or worse, big fish or not, 15-pounders or a bunch of dinks, whatever. A sea of 10-pound males or dinks, whatever. Let's go ahead and do this. And this was the one, and for him, it's all about it being accessible, because he is literally, it's in his backyard. He lives right there. So I'm like, let's do it. It's great. The boat launch is scary as shit. And I don't mean about if you're trying to launch a boat there. I mean trying to back your vehicle in. Holy crap. This makes me want to buy a truck even more. But it's the market. The inventory is booked.
You might as well be trying to buy lumber.
I know. Hey, I might save a buck if I bought lumber. I might. Yeah. I could break even. I don't know. So I got on a couple. We fished until about 12:30 or so. Sun was beating down on us. I got a phone call from Shawn on Saturday, and we touched base with him a little bit. This was before any real excitement kind of had happened for you. Although at that time, I think you were placed pretty well.
I called you in the morning, right?
Yeah, you called me pretty early, like about 9:30 or 10.
Yeah. So what happened with day one of the tournament was, I always try to, approach every day of fishing the same.
Yep.
And honestly, being in the water with some of the folks that I got into the water with, it's intimidating. Like, there's hammers on sticks all over the place. Yeah. Everybody out there was a hammer on stick. Now, what was really nice was unexpected. 2 guys that are fishing with the Western Division for MAKB, they were out there. I didn't realize they were going. So Mike Williams and Oscar Serrano were out there, and that was nice to see them out there. We kind of paddled a little bit together and got out. And I tried to just kind of calm down, focus, and see what was going on. And the last spot I hit on Thursday, I said, that's one of the 2 places I want to start at. I said, okay, fuck it, I'm going to start there. And I'm lucky I did, because that's one stretch of water I returned to all weekend. And honestly, I caught, I think, all of my fish but one from a, 300-foot stretch of water. Every one. Oh, no, I caught all of my fish on the same lure too. So that was kind of nice. I didn't have to, I brought all this gear I brought. I have one fucking lure that worked. Early in the morning, 6:30. So the tournament started at 6. Early launch was at 5:30. At 6 o'clock, I got. Well, it was right after that. Right after the tournament started, I got I think a 13 and then a 16, pretty close to each other. So I'm like, all right, good. I'm on the board. Goal number 1, get a fish, done. Yeah. Goal number 2 is get a limit, right? So I got the 16 there. I'm like, oh, that's not bad. 29 inches. I'm happy with that. Then I smoked my personal best smallmouth, which was 20 and a quarter, which that's I'm like, amazing, holy dude. Shit, where did this come from? Now I'm like, now it went from I've reached these goals and I'm staying level to I got a 20 inch in my bag what can I do with this?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where can this go? You know, and now I'm all excited. I'm having a really good time because you're catching fish. You're pumped up.
For sure.
I should make mention. My buddy and I and his wife were sitting out at a fire the night before, and I stayed up too late. We were hanging out bullshitting. I haven't seen them in a long time. It's been a great it was a great night, and I was just talking to a friend on the phone before while I was driving home. And this guy said, he misspoke, but I asked him, I said, did you just say this? And you know what he said? And it just made so much sense.
What's that?
He said, things have been so bad during this COVID decade. And I asked him, I said, did you just say COVID decade? And he said, yes. I said, that's the best term to describe the past fucking year that I can imagine.
Yeah.
This was a COVID decade. He goes, I kind of meant to say era, but decade fits. I go, this was a decade.
It feels like a decade, you know?
Yes.
Doesn't like
yes.
It looks like I think of 2019 like I think of the fucking 80s now.
Yeah. No shit.
Right?
Yeah. No, 2018 was the 80s. 2019 was the 90s.
Yeah,
God,
2018 I had like, you know, all the girls had like the Great Wall of China for their bangs. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, 20 Yes. So anyways, you know, midway through the morning, I'm all pumped. I'm like, dude, I'm hanging around in the top 10. I've got this big smallmouth on the board. Now, the way KBF does their tiebreakers for big fish, because there's only one lunker, or there was 3 lunker prizes. The tiebreaker is who caught it first. And
that's right.
I was tied with Ryan Nye, who ended up winning day one. Fished with Ryan a couple times. He's a really good guy. He's from Connecticut, so I'm guessing he's fished Candlewood in the past. Ryan had a 2025 as well. And I think Derek Brundle ended up winning the lunker yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who got second. I'd have to look. I apologize to them. Ryan and I tied for 2025. He caught his 15 minutes before mine, so he got it. He got a $100 gift card. So I was like, fuck. Keep that in mind.
They don't do a lunker largemouth and a lunker small?
No, lunker bass.
Oh, okay.
Black bass.
Huh.
So that was, at the end of the day, I was like, that's fine. I hung, you know. Throughout the rest of the day, I ended up, I'm actually going to look and see what my total was because I got 2 days of fishing, and this was, I hate to say it, this day was so exciting, but it was a warm up for today.
Yeah.
I ended up staying on that running that shoreline, and there was a certain depth difference that I picked up on. And then on top of that, this is so weird, but it was every smallmouth, a certain position they were taking to docks. And I actually mentioned it to a couple other anglers today while we were at the meeting afterwards and the ceremony afterwards. And they were like, wow, that's good you picked up on that. And they were like, well, you know what? We caught a couple fish that way too, but they didn't
catch the pattern.
Yeah. Look at, I finished well today. The 2 people that finished that I was talking to were 1st and 6th. All right. It wasn't like,
gotcha.
You know what I mean?
It mattered.
It wasn't like I was super fucking smart guy who picked up on this shit.
It's not like they were 65th and they're like, oh, that's what happened.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
We caught a couple that way, but we also fucking quadrupled your total.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, exactly. Alex Miller got the second one yesterday. He got a 20.5, and then Ryan and I got his 20.25, and I got my 20.25. So my total yesterday was 85 inches of all smallmouth, which is amazing because I'm not really, you know me, I'm more of a largemouth guy. I very rarely go for smallmouth, go into smallmouth waters. So I got a 20.25 and the 16 and the 13, and then I caught another 16 at some point in the day. With an hour left, I was not expecting this 118 to come out of nowhere, an 18.75. So
yeah,
I finished with 85 inches. Like I said, a lot of guys that had done really, really well pre-fishing and on beds, and Ken Wood even put a post up on Facebook that showed all the beds he marked, and not one of them turned up fish for him on Saturday. A lot of people had to completely blow up their game plans and go back, because I guess there was a tournament Friday night, a big boat tournament Friday night, and they cleaned up the beds. Not only that, big boat tournaments, this is one thing, like, I don't champion the CPR, the catch photo release cause. I don't. I fish big boats tournaments. I get the point of catching a fish and having a weigh in on a certified scale. The problem with that is when you've got bedding fish and the launch is a mile and a half away, those fish their beds are dead. Like if they had eggs, they're bluegill food. If they had fry, they're bluegill food. And then if you have a tournament coming up the next day, yeah, Josh is right. Never lined up. I did not, and I never do. But yeah, if you have a tournament like that the night before, it trashed everything. There was a lot of people, a lot of guys that had to scramble and figure out something new to do on tournament day because none of their spots had fish.
And that gets down to that mental game like we talked about previously. Yeah. And I think I had talked about it with Charlie as well. Like when the shit hits the fan, like what are you going to do? And I think that's what separates the really great anglers from the ones that can hang is when they can pick up the pieces and say like, okay, well I've got this figured out. Now there's a plan B, you know?
Exactly. So I finished, Ryan and I won the thing with 97.5, which was just amazing considering how much damage that tournament the night before did. If there wasn't a tournament the night before, I think probably 10 people would have cracked 100. So, and his big again was a 20.25. He actually got 2 of those.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Trisha Angelini finished second with 96.
Yep. And this is Saturday, right?
Yeah. Yep. It was so the top 10. Hold on. The top 10, the top 11 people all cracked 90 inches. And then it just kind of petered down from there. I mean, I finished 19th.
You broke 20 though. That's
70. Yes, I got 85 inches. I finished 19th with 75 of the best anglers in the region and country. Yeah. I was fine with that. I was like,
that's huge. I mean, it's an accomplishment, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, this is the first time I fished a KBF event. It's completely different. It's a place I've never fished before other than Thursday. Yeah. This is my baseline. Like I tell everyone, if you're going to fish tournaments, every level that you go to, your first one, you're establishing a baseline. And if you go from one tournament in a year to a year full of tournaments, you've reestablished your baseline. It's constantly reevaluating what you're doing. So I got to tell you what happened Saturday night. We're going to get off topic on the fishing.
Oh, no worries.
Because I talked to you about this, the shenanigans that happened. So our favorite place, Bar Taco.
Oh my goodness.
Was so swamped with orders that they could not do a takeout order. Like their computer system just said, try us back in 15 minutes. We're fucked. Try us back in 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, I was starving and I gave up. There was a pizza place in Norwalk, right near my buddy's house, that was called, I think it's Healthy Savory Pizza. Because of my fucking dietary restrictions, I had to call them and say, can you make me some pizzas? The man that answered the phone, I should have asked him his first name.
I guarantee it was Frank. I guarantee it was Frank.
Frank or Tony.
Yeah, well.
Like, you and I laugh. It was stereotypical Italian, accent and mannerisms. I was laughing so hard because it sounded like a Jerky Boys call.
Yeah.
It really did. I was in the middle of a Jerky Boys call and I didn't ask for it. I just wanted a couple of fucking pizzas. So, so this guy answers the phone. He's like, hey, I go, here's what I need. And I told him and he goes, hey, what's your name? I go, Shawn. He goes, Shawn, like Sean Spicer. Hey, I go,
like Sean Spicer? That's
yes, I didn't tell you this part. Yeah, Sean Spicer. I go, well, Sean Spicer had that reputation for like lying and blowing up shit. I'm like, well, no. True. I said, buddy, I ain't lying to you. I just want to order some pizza. I want to pick up some pizza. I want to pay for that pizza and I want to eat the pizza. There ain't no lying. He's laughing. He goes, oh, God bless. I love you, buddy. And I'm like, the guy just tell me you love me.
That's fucking awesome.
So there's a couple Jerky Boys calls where Frank Rizzo says, all right, love you, baby. Love you. And I'm laughing. So there was a problem with my order. He called me back and he said it again. He goes, hey, Shawn. Yeah, I love you, buddy. Thanks. See you in a few. And I'm like, okay. So I get in there and it's a family owned business.
Yep.
And I walk in, he goes, hey, you Shawn? I said, yeah. And he just yells, he goes, hey, honey, Shawn's here for his pizza. He's a handsome devil, more handsome in person than on the phone. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm laughing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have some fun with this now. So I go, okay, great. And I get my pizzas and we're talking and I get, it was it's a health food pizza place. Like it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And I don't ever fuck people on tips, right? I always make sure I tip good. Always.
Yep.
For a lot of reasons. Number one, I used to work in the service industry and I have told you some of the horror stories I got about tips and fuck that. I will never do that to another human being. And, with dietary issues, you take care of servers, they'll take care of you.
Exactly.
They'll remember that. Like, oh yeah, that guy can't have this kind of food. I'm not going to fuck with him. Oh yeah, and he left a really big tip. Definitely not going to fuck with him.
Yep.
So I had one bill on me. I was going to buy a round of drinks, and it just didn't end up happening. And I had 20 on me, so I gave the guy a 20 for a tip. I didn't break it. It was the only bill I had.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, honey," his tip jar says it's a college fund for their daughter, and their daughter's behind him doing something on the iPad. He goes, "Hey, honey, Shawn here just donated $20 to Elsie's college fund. What do you say? Hell of a guy." And I'm like, oh my God. His wife in the back says, "Oh, that's great. Thank you, Shawn." I'm like, this is great. And he goes, "God bless you. I love you, baby." I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So I looked at him. I said, look, I've been laughing the whole time here. And I said, in a great way. I'm not laughing at you. I said, but you sound like Frank Rizzo from a Jerky Boys call. And especially because you told me you love me like 4 times. And he does that in his calls. And he's like, Jerky Boys, love them guys. I'm like, you love everybody.
That's
so I'm like,
awesome.
Look, at just bottom line, if you're in Southwestern Connecticut and you got somebody who's got allergies or some shit, even if you don't, get a pizza from this guy. It's worth every penny. Healthy, savory pizza down there. They're fucking great. So
I thought
had
you
a
were
good
going to
time
tell
with
me
that.
it was called Silly's Pizza.
Silly ass pizza. Sparky the Clown's pizza. I have no idea.
You got some kind of a funny meatball sandwich over there. Some kind of funny meatball hero.
You want a scrap? Damn, we're idiots.
Oh God, we really are idiots.
So that happened, and then I didn't sleep well. Like I said, I got like 3 hours of sleep the night before on Friday night, and I was like fucked up. So I literally slammed this pizza, looked at my buddy, and said, "Dude, I'm not hanging out tonight. I'm going to fucking bed."
Yeah.
And I crashed, and I actually got a good amount of sleep, and I woke up Sunday. And now we got the Jerky Boy comments.
Jumps in and says, "Coupons?
Coupons."
Gonna go order and name drop the handsome devil. Gotta get the hookup. Hell
there you go. If they want to name a pizza after me, call it the Handsome Devil. I mean, who am I? Who am I to say no to that? Well, Sunday rolled around, and I got up early, and I got out to the lake, and I rolled in, and I noticed that because of the conditions the day prior, we had, I think, 1.5 to 2 dozen people launch at the state park where we launched from.
Yeah.
Dozen. It just got cut in half. I'm like, holy shit, people did not want to fish here. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to where I caught the fish. Go with the hot hand.
Exactly, man.
And at 6:19 this morning, I hooked into another 20-inch fucking smallmouth.
Are you for real, man?
I should say this. The day before, my lament, my what-if situation, where I was getting all fired up, and I'm like, maybe I got a shot to crack the top 10 here. I lost 3 fish.
Yep.
I lost a 16.5. I know it was 16.5.
Don't tell me it flopped off the board.
I measured the fucker. It flopped off the board, went into my footwell, and somehow did this wiggly, I'm a salmon going upstream, and went a foot in front of the net. Just fucking smallmouth spastic bullshit.
They can fly.
Right out.
Shit.
I'm like, so that would have called out a 13 that I had left. I lost another one that looked like 18, and I lost another 20. That was in the 20 range. I mean, obviously they're not measured. I'm just eyeballing these things, but when it jumps,
have an idea.
Every one of these fucking smallmouth went completely airborne. Every one, not one smallmouth that I caught this weekend didn't jump 3 feet in the air, and some of them were big. And that 20-incher, that one hurt because I slapped my rod down on the water. I was so upset. So if you do the math on that, a 20, or let's say the 16.5 calls out the 13.
Yep.
The 18 calls out one of the 16s, and the 20 calls out one of the 16s. I might have been in the top 10, and that's the way the ball bounces. I wasn't because I didn't get those fish.
Yep.
So I was happy. I'm still happy. 19th, right?
Dude, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Both days you broke 20. Like I feel like that is an accomplishment. That's huge, man. Yeah.
Going into this tournament, my personal best smallmouth was 17.5.
Yeah.
I broke that 5 times this weekend.
That's bananas. Shit. I can't even imagine that, man. And you didn't take a single girth reading on one of those, did you?
No, dude, I didn't. Every one I caught was spawned out. Every one. So while like Josh just said,
I'm just thinking, like, dude, that's the kind of thing that you want to celebrate. But
that's like, it's just my game plan. I don't fish beds.
Yeah,
it's not against bed fishing.
Yeah.
I run and gun, and that's why I found my fish on this one stretch. And I think it was a transition area to the depths, and they would, hang out deep, and then it's dinner time. Come up shallow and do their thing.
It was one of those ideal spots where I'm thinking that maybe when you pre-fished it, you were catching some of those first wave spawners that were in the post spawn that were looking for that were moving off. Maybe
I doubt it. I think
really?
What I was looking at was this was post spawn. No matter how many days, weeks, or months had been gone by since they spawned.
Yeah,
the one that I caught on Thursday gave me enough hope that I'm like, there's fish here, and I wonder what the morning bite's going to be like. Because it was 4:00 in the afternoon when I caught it on Thursday.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And you went right there that first day from the gate. So that first, what was that? Would you say the first one was like an 18 or a 20?
No, it was. I think I went 13, 16, 20.25.
All right. So that 20 was earlier in the day. It wasn't late.
Yeah, but it was spaced out. I will say this, man. The amount of fucking rock bass that I caught on Saturday.
Yeah.
I caught 16 rock bass. That's a lot of rock bass. Everybody was catching. They were all either 6 or 7 inches long, so I couldn't even use them for the jigs and big stuff.
I was going to ask. That was going to be my next question: is if you were going to pop them in there. That sucks when they're just shy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got like an 8 or a 9 in there, but it just didn't matter, you know. So on to Sunday, like I said, Saturday night. Oh, Josh obviously has a lot of experience on Candlewood. It made my heart, dude. Wait till you hear this, Josh, because this was fucking great. I caught 20-inch smallmouth. If I caught one 20-inch smallmouth per day, even one for the tournament, I'd be happy.
Yeah. You did 5 in a weekend?
No, well, I broke the 17.5.
Yeah.
So I got 2 at 18, 1 at 19, and 2 at 20.
Oh, okay.
I broke my PB. That's important.
Fucking crazy.
So here's where the crazy shit started. Now, I did mention Saturday night, there was the the festivities afterwards, and we sat down and Lauren and Derek were there. I got to introduce them to a few people. I met quite a few people.
Yep.
These events, there's a lot of conflicting groups that are all KBF affiliates that might claim the quote unquote same territory for recruiting anglers or doing whatever. And right off the bat, Chad Hoover, orating was like, thank you all for coming. We're all KBF. There's none of this other shit. And it was smooth. It was a really, really smooth thing. And everyone got out there and it was really, really, very family-like. It was awesome.
That's
awesome. I can't say enough again about, Chad hosting it, and he got to sit down for a little bit with Lauren and Derek and myself. And he is kind of a larger than life dude.
I believe it.
He speaks his mind, and fucking good for him. Doesn't give a shit. It's awesome. So yeah, it was nice to sit down with him for a few minutes and talk a little bit. And it was really, I got some insight on, how he feels about Northeast anglers. And I think, he obviously didn't get deep into it, but
dicks, dude.
Yeah. Well, no, he's like, he definitely has some forward plans going, some plans going forward because the turnout was good. People caught a lot of big fish.
Yeah.
It was good. And then, Sunday rolled around, so right off the bat, I went back to my spot, got another 20, and then I moved a little south, and I got a 16. And I'm like, shit, these are the fish I need. And then I said, where have they moved to? Because they're not biting like they were yesterday. They moved. The smallmouth are just nomads. Where do they go? Mm-hmm. And I put a little bit of time into that, making sure that stretch was clear. And I said, the last one I caught was north from here yesterday. Maybe they're starting to move north. So I went north absolutely fruitlessly until 9:55. This is where we should insert ominous music.
Okay, sit tight. I got you.
Oh, you got something ominous?
I got. Well, I'm gonna do the best I can for you. You ready?
Bill the Doctor is not good here.
No, Bill the Doctor is not good here. And here we go. Go ahead.
All right, 9:55. I'm continuing throwing the same Ned rig I've thrown for 2 days. At 9:55, I hook into what I think is a log. That log proceeds to drag me out into the middle of the fucking lake at 40 feet of water. I had to pedal to keep up with it, and it was pulling drag. I don't know what happened. I think the adrenaline rush of this fish or satanic beast, whatever grabbed my lure, taking me out in the middle caused me to lose my mind and possibly my memory for the next 50 minutes because that's how long it took to land this fucking thing.
Yeah.
50 minutes. I lost an hour of my tournament day fighting one fish in the middle of the lake with fucking jet skiers and water skiers going around me because my rod is doubled over and I'm waving at them with one hand going, go around. I got a fish for 50 minutes. This is one of the most highly used recreational lakes, I think, in New England. And there were so many people going around me staring like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And my rod is just going boom, boom. And my drag is going zzz, zzz, as this thing's making runs.
Some of our audience that's listening to this and some of the jig heads that are in the recording session watching all this, we're privy to this. Because yeah.
I called. Now, here's what I did. I called, fortunately, our OG jig head, Tim Jacks, was hosting an NEBA tournament, big boat tournament, while this was going on. That was another thing that was dodging me, was big boats, bass boats. And I called Tim and I said, please tell me you're at the southern part of this lake. And he said, no, I'm not. Why? I go, fuck. I just hooked into something. I don't know what it is and I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And Tim said, sorry, man, I'm too far away. Go fuck yourself.
For real?
No, he said, I'm at the north. He said, I can't get down there. He could have got down there in time because it took me 50 minutes. So in the meanwhile, I have something that I think we should give to our patrons, a little something special.
Yeah, let's do it.
No, I can't right now. I've got to send it to you.
Oh.
Before I called you, I took a video. There's a Shawn the Fisherman monologue of what exactly is running through my head for about a minute.
Okay.
I'll get it to you. We'll get it out to our patrons.
Okay. Yes. All right. So if you're one of our jig heads and you're a member of our Patreon, then yeah, I'll post that video for you.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
I did. I saved it, so I'm smart. And then I got in touch with you, and I said, make this live stream happen, as the reel is just barking at me. And you're like, screaming. What the fuck is going on? Yeah, screaming. Yeah. And then, in between, go around, don't hit me. And we started live streaming. And how long will you live stream for? About a half an hour, 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes or so.
Until I got it in the net. What came out of the depths of this water was a 34-inch measured, plus my estimate, because of the pike I caught last year, about a 20-pound common carp.
Giant.
Yeah. This thing looks fucking fake. It's so big. I caught that thing. Now, the only place I could get to land to get a picture of this thing and to measure it on a board, because I couldn't do it in my kayak, it was so fucking big. I had problems lifting the goddamn thing in the net, was some federal land marked do not trespass because it was Danbury Federal Penitentiary. Now, there's hiking trails nearby. There was a family hiking. I went on there anyways and took the picture.
Got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, and
that's some shit right there.
I'd like to thank Shawn, Rebecca, and Aubrey for helping me out with these pictures. I told them, I'm like, look, I get a big fish every now and again, and I can't take pictures of it because I'm usually by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a picture of this fucking carp.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of pictures of this
It's a good one, too.
Yeah, it's fucking pretty sweet. So I got the carp. I wasted an entire hour on a carp in a high-stakes bass tournament. And I was like, fuck it. I don't care. Because at that point, I had 36 inches. People were climbing the leaderboard. I was still in the top 20, I think. And by the time the carp fight was done, I was out of the top 20. I was like, I caught at least the heaviest freshwater fish I've ever caught. Because I put that pike in the net and I could lift it. This carp was hard to lift. So I decided at 11 or 12 o'clock to resume my path, go back to where I started.
Yep.
And at 1 o'clock, tragedy hit. My rudder locked up and would not move.
Oh.
So I had to paddle and pedal at the same time, or hang my paddle overboard as a rudder. I learned a lot today. But I also learned the fish had moved south, not north. I pulled a 19 and an 18 in the last hour out, and I couldn't get that fifth fish on the board. Again, my lament for today is even a 12-inch fish would have put me in the top 15.
Yeah.
an 18-inch fish would have put me in the top 5 or 6.
Yep. That's tournament fishing.
And when I talked to Nate about this, he's like, he goes, Nate with his drawl, I love it. He's like, dude, tournaments like this, everything's got to go fucking right. And I'm like, you're right, Nate. Truer words have never been spoken.
It's crazy. And that number of anglers, like when you've mentioned what the roster was like with just the numbers. And I mean, I know Candlewood's a much larger body of water than anybody that lives up in this area is typically used to fishing, unless they're fishing Candlewood or like Winnipesaukee or Champlain, something like that. I mean, shit, even if you fish Quabbin on a regular basis, you know what I mean? It's like...
But it's not comparable because Quabbin has no rec traffic. This would be Winnipesaukee, Champlain, maybe Otis.
Yep.
But not even Otis is much smaller. So this was brutal. And like I said, the first day, there were a lot of guys whose game plans were blown up and they scrambled. And some of them did well and some of them didn't. And it just that, again, that's the way things go. But think of the roster for this, just from MAKB guys. I mean, Joe DiDeo, Ken Wood, Nate Shagnon, Sean Dwyer, that's just from our group. It was nuts, and then you start talking about some of the traveling folks. I'm learning some of the names. I just met these people the first time this week. And I don't follow any sports, not even the one I'm involved in. I'm not going to sit and look and see what happened at a KBF event and that, I have nothing to do with.
Another part of the country necessarily.
I might start because now I have faces to put with the names and people I've talked to. I met the Richardsons, Jody and was it John or Don? I forgot. I'm a piece of shit. I think it's John. They're a couple from New Hampshire.
Yep.
They placed 1st and 6th today. They don't fuck around. You know what I mean? It was just a pounding of fucking insanely good anglers. And to finish top 20 with this group both days,
that says something.
It's my baseline, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I caught the heaviest freshwater fish I've ever caught. A fucking carp.
You broke your PB smallmouth. How many times? Like, I would say all in all, like this weekend for you was a huge success in a shit ton of different angles. And
I had fun. I had so much fun.
Yeah.
The excitement I had on Saturday got matched with the excitement and the intensity I had the last hour of Sunday with those last 2 fish. I'm like, one more. That whole last 45 minutes, I was on edge and I couldn't get that last one. Yeah. It happens.
It's just the name of the game, dude.
But it was exciting. It was a fucking hell of a run, man. This was a fun weekend. So I don't know if anybody that's interested in tournament fishing, if you really want to take it to the next level, real risk and reward type shit. Wow, this was fucking fun. This was awesome.
There is one thing I want to jump in with before we transition, because I think we really got to get to the fuck this guy stuff.
Oh boy, we have a bunch of that.
There's a lot to go over when it comes to that. We're talking about results from a poll that we took. We're talking about we have new submissions for fuck this guy. But before we do that, I want to mention there was a big buzz thing that kind of had gone on this week, and it was really huge. Close friends of ours, Hookset Hoodlums, their family. We love Hookset Hoodlums, absolutely. But one of the other things that happened for me this week was I got a little package in the mail.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I want a pack.
Here. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure yours are on the way. This is the rattling bug from Hookset Hoodlums. Very excited to try this sucker out. It's a creature bait. It's got this great kind of two-tone color going on. It's got purple on this one side here, orange with some sparkle in there. It's definitely not something you see every day. It's a great creature bait. But the thing that makes it so unique is that there's a rattle in there. So it definitely is going to get some attention. It's a great setup. I'm a big believer in using rattles like this. I have had, as a matter of fact, my previous PB was caught on a Hookset Hoodlums wild worm. That 19 3/4 inch was hooked up. I was drop shotting with one of those wild worms, and it was fantastic. But what's crazy is that these aren't even available for sale, yet or anything like that. But what's interesting is there's been a lot of feedback that's come back from the fishing industry as a whole, we'll say. And I can't get into the specifics, but apparently Hookset hoodlums are ruffling some feathers a little bit, and they have attention of some major players in the industry. So it's going to be very, very exciting. In fact, I had a little back and forth text conversation with Wild Bill from Hookset Hoodlums, and what he had mentioned was, I'm not 100% sure that this is going to be the case, but it's quite possible that there's going to be a new Hookset versus Everybody shirt that will be coming out, and that it's going to come with a mystery bait, is kind of the plan. So we'll see what happens. It is what it is. But I think it's just, it's amazing. I think it says something about the industry when you can have a group that is, really like, so, that started out so fringe. Northeast anglers, just kind of like having fun, friends, fishing, family, like all this stuff all together. And now they're like, these guys are doing this stuff basically like, it's not, like I said, it's not even for sale. It's not on their website. There's like 3 pictures on the entire internet. And now this unlisted YouTube video is going to have it on there. But, the rattle and bug, it's a thing. And, hopefully this turns into something huge. I wonder what this could mean for Hookset Hoodlums. I think this is a complimentary thing. When the industry is saying like, we see you, I think that's big. That's awesome. So congratulations, Hookset Hoodlums.
What's the old saying? No such thing as bad publicity, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, that's awesome.
Speaking of publicity, and to put a bow on this, there were 2 notes I forgot about this stuff, and I want to wrap it up and get past this because, we really got to get into the fuck this guy. 2 things on the rest of the tournament for today. I'm sorry, I forgot.
No worries.
Once again, I tied for 3rd for the biggest bass. And 2 people caught 20.25 inches.
Yep.
In the first 15 minutes of the tournament, and mine was at the 19-minute mark, so I lost the tiebreaker to 2 people. That's funny.
That's insane.
The other thing, big, huge congratulations, and I don't know how I fucking forgot this. I mentioned Mike Williams and Oscar Serrano came out from the Western Division. Mike placed 8th.
Yeah, he did. That's huge, man. Congrats, Mike.
Was it 8th or 9th? Hold on. It was top 10 either way.
He's in the top 10. That is just that's just a beast, Hold
on, I'm getting the logistics. Hold on. Whoa.
Stand by, everybody.
Standing by.
The technology and the elbow grease.
9th with 88 inches, and he said he had a 19.5 flop off the board that would have put him further up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's bananas, dude. Like...
Mike did a killer job.
It's intense. It's crazy. So I would say overall, this entire week has been just killer for everybody. There's been a ton of action as far as the tournament goes for our listeners' tournament. In fact, I've still got people that have been DMing me asking about it. I had talked to Brett today from Make Massachusetts Fishing Spots Great Again, and I said, hey, I've got money for you. What's the best way for us to give it to you? And he said, oh, we can do anything. We got PayPal, Venmo, so we got that all worked out. We're psyched, man. We're psyched. We've
awesome.
got good stuff coming up. But our tournament we're over now by a good clip. We're over 300 entries.
I know. I got a lot of work to do this week. I'm catching up on the judging. I'll be doing that this week.
Look at this. 333 entries.
I know.
It's crazy.
I got a lot of work to do.
And I know I had come out, when we first started mentioning doing this, I had said like, oh yeah, we'd love to get a couple of 100 anglers across the country. We're going to get there. But then as it got a little bit closer, I was like, if we can hit 50, I think that'll be amazing. And we're not shy of that. Like we're at 46. Like I'm floored that it was that. Like this has been such a huge success for the podcast, for Make Massachusetts Fishing Spots Great Again, for everybody involved. And tomorrow, you and I have a date to go and do some purchasing with the Jigs and Bigs corporate account, if you will, or as corporate as that account could be, if that were even a thing. So we got our hands full, man. We got some good stuff to do.
We're going to have a little fucking shopping spree.
Yeah, we are.
Bitches.
It's going to be good. Put this on the Jigs and Bigs account.
Yes.
It'll be good.
I like it.
I'm very excited, man. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water.
So let's get into fuck this guy.
Let's get into it.
I want to hear what the results were from the fuck this guy poll, and I'm sure a lot of other people do.
Here's the thing. So I had gone pretty hard sharing the link for the fuck this guy poll. I'd done that. This was on our, our most engagement really does come from Instagram. The secondary is Facebook. So we had actually a couple hundred people weigh in on this, and this is what blows my mind, is that in the analysis.
Do you have percentages?
We do.
Oh, I want to hear those.
We have a 3-way tie. That I didn't expect.
Okay, who does not need to be fucked?
Who does not need? It's Goosewing Guy. Goosewing Guy got 14%.
The guy who's legitimately crazy, a possible serial killer and an animal dismemberer.
Mutilated a freaking live beast and then put it on display to potentially send some kind of a message, is the least runner-up. It is a 3-way tie between Oblivious Wreck Boater Guy, Sock Guy, who is the dude that dropped the drop shot with live bait where I was pitching to, and then Litterbug Guy from Swamp Rat's video. Those 3 guys all tied at 29% apiece.
I thought for sure Goose Guy was.
I kind of did too. Off. I really did. After and it's funny because Sockeye had happened, and I was like, "Fuck this guy," and I put up that post, and then it wasn't until I hit record and we started talking about it last week's show, and you mentioned Goose Guy. I'm like, "Oh, if I do a poll, Sockeye's never going to beat Goose Guy. Goose Guy's a monster. Sockeye's just an idiot." You know what I mean?
It's like saying, I don't know, name a criminal who's stupid, like.
Most of them.
Yeah, no, but like a stupid crime, like something that's not really that bad.
Gotcha. Like
what's not
like jaywalking.
No, you know what? That's like saying, what's that? What was the actress that did the school scandal, the college scandal, where she paid for?
Oh yeah, who the hell?
Lori Loughlin.
Yeah, from Full House.
So that's like, in my opinion, this is Lori Loughlin and Jeffrey Dahmer standing right next to each other, and people are like, "Fuck you, Lori Loughlin. Fuck you."
It's like,
I don't know what to say.
I'll say this: it's like you try to compare those two, and you're just like, Lori Loughlin ate how many? Barely any humans. Barely ate any humans.
Doesn't
and then
even
you look at Dahmer, and then Dahmer ate a lot of human beings, like too many. All the human beings he actually ate were pretty much. So I get your comparison. I like that. I like that.
Wow.
Josh Escobar jumps in with this. He's like, "You said name a dumb crime." He goes, "Dude got stuck on the roof breaking into a store, calls the cops on himself to save him." That's dumb. That's really dumb. That's really dumb.
Put him next to Dahmer.
And I'll bet you he hasn't eaten any humans, though.
Yeah, fuck you, break-in guy.
Fuck you, break-in guy. So this is my theory. My theory is this, is that the reason why Sockeye, Wreck Motor Guy, and the, what do you call it? Who's the other one? Oh, the Litter Bug. I feel like those are the most relatable. You know, like people have run into this and they're just like, yeah, fuck that guy. I've had to deal with him. So that's what I think. I think people can like relate to that, and that's why their votes kind of went that way. It would be interesting if animal mutilations at boat launches were more of a common thing. If maybe that would weigh in, and we would have a 25%er all across the board.
I'm glad it's not, I guess.
Yeah, I mean there is that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into the fuck this guy for this week. And honestly, I never really kind of expected to get to this point. But this might be like a weekly thing, because the submissions that came in were a lot. And I'm going to tell you, quite honestly, there were a lot of people that sent a lot of DMs. If you did and we don't mention you, remind us, because we're going to get them all on the show at one point or another.
Now, are they all fishing related, or is this just fuck this guy for,
The vast majority are they are fish related.
So why don't we do this going forward? Mm-hmm. While we all agree that every guy who scratches off scratch tickets at the counter while everyone else is waiting so he can see if he won to buy more, definitely fuck that guy, but let's keep it at fishing. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think we kind of have to look at it like that. I have the music here for this, but I can't find it. I totally forgot about adding it.
This is Dr. Bill.
Is it Dr. Bill?
Dr. Bill just has so much use. We're getting a lot of mileage out of Dr.
No,
Bill.
we're gonna go ahead and go with this right here. All right, so for this week's Fuck This Guy segment, Shawn, why don't you go ahead and get started, and we'll dive in. That's amazing, isn't it?
I'm having problems believing this is a thing we do now. What the fuck? Where did this come from? And now we're like into it. We're making rules.
We are.
There's a theme song. What the fuck? Oh my god!
It's true though.
All right. It is. Apparently it's popular. Like, I got 500 DMs. Like, what is happening? Oh my God. All right. So I got one from, obviously I can give 1,000 fuck this guys over the past weekend for all the wreck boaters, all of their shenanigans, everything from getting in the ramp, getting out. I'm going to skip my personal. There was nothing really stood out. There were so many turds in this sea of shit. It didn't matter. But here's what I heard from Tim Jacks, OG Jighead. Tim Jacks told me at a recent tournament, because of course bass are on beds and people in tournaments fish for bass on beds. Apparently a local homeowner took complete offense to Tim, and I don't know if Tim had a co-angler with him, but took complete offense to their attempt catching fish. Apparently went out on his dock and started hurling some vulgar language and asking him, well, that's very sporting, isn't it, huh? And sarcastic. And Tim said, he goes, I know. They keep grabbing the tails and not the hook, as the bass are removing the tail, grabbing the tails from his rubber worm and moving them off the bed. And I guess that gave the gentleman pause. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about catching them. He's like, so am I. And he's just trying to diffuse the situation. Well, that led to the homeowner getting very upset and saying, you're taking them off their beds, and the other predators are going to get at the eggs and shit. And Tim continued on his way, and the old homeowner started throwing rocks in the water, which of course is going to scare the fish away so the predators can get at the eggs. And Tim alerted the guy of that, and it didn't matter. He hurled rocks for God knows how long. So guy on the lake, fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's so shitty. I love it when people make these assumptions about the natural process.
Yeah.
Like on their own, they're just like, oh yeah, you're hurting the fish or you're taking them away from their spawning beds. And like, wow, there's an active presence of anglers that say, if you're bed fishing, return that fish to the bed as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Like you got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, like doing that ensures the family, the genetics really that'll be able to carry on versus, you yank that fish and you scare a bunch of protective males away from the beds where there's all these fry. And then you have some catfish or some pickerel come in and it's freaking golden corral.
Bluegills are
bluegills are the big one. Yeah, exactly. So you go in and man, it's like it's bananas. Yeah, that sucks, dude. That definitely sucks.
Throwing rocks. I mean, what the fuck?
I don't know.
What's your guy? Who do you got?
So I have a little.
Oh, you got like 1,000. Go ahead.
Well, no. There's only one off the top of my head. This was a big one. This one comes from Steve-O, OG Scuba Fishing, OG_Scuba_ Fishing over on Instagram. He's one of the Hookset Hoodlum pro staffers as well, and he jumped on and I told him, I said, if you got a good story, DM me. Get me some info so I've got something to go with. So he did even better. He actually sent me some video. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. We're going to take the audio from that here, and we'll go ahead and do this. And then Andy had chimed in with something right here in the comments that I want to get to right after this. So here is Steve.
I can't even text what it is that I'm going to tell you right now as a fuck this guy. So it's going to be in a video form. So I'm fishing a pond by my house, right? I see these kids across the way on the other side. They're all right, Bob. They pull like a 3-pound fish out. They're taking pictures and videos and all this shit. All right, cool. Like, man, nice. So I keep fishing. I look up. Bang, they pull another big fish out. And I'm like, oh, shit, man. They're on fish over there, So for like 5 minutes, this kid's just pulling fucking fish after fish. I'm like, what the fuck is he fishing? So I go around to see what's going on, to see what he's doing, to check on him. Just seeing, like, man, damn. So there's a bunch of holes around there you could fish. So I go, where I can see what's going on. Like, I can see them, but I'm fishing down in a hole. And, every time they catch a fish, they're doing, like, a real quick YouTube video for whatever. Oh, look, we caught this on this worm, yada, 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 right? So I'm looking over. They don't see me looking at them. So I look over. It's 2 kids, probably 15, 16 years old. So I look over, and I see the kid unhook it's the same fucking fish each time. They're unhooking the fucking fish, and they got, like, 4 rods. They're hooking new baits, letting the drag go, throwing the fish back in the water, letting the fish swim off, and then reeling it back in, recording it like it's a new fish. So I couldn't believe it at first, and then I seen him do it again with a worm, and that's when I just lost my shit. And I was like, yo, what the fuck are you guys doing? So I get up, I come up off the bank, I'm like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Put that fucking fish back in the water and get the fuck out of here. So me, I'm 6'6", 260. These are 2 fucking teenagers, little kids, and I just lost my shit on these kids. But those 2 kids are like the king of the fuck this guy. Who does that? Who the fuck? I mean, literally, I wish I could get their handle or their YouTube name or whatever, but I just couldn't help. I got so fucking infuriated that I just lost my shit on them. And then I see them walk down and try to start, and I literally followed him. I told him, like, yo, get the fuck out of this park, like, leave the fucking pond. It was so fucking infuriating to see that, to see someone treat a fucking, I know we fish and we hook fish, but show some fucking respect to the sport, man. For views and likes and bullshit videos, like fake videos, that's what you do. So that's my, well, fuck those guys. And yeah, I got a little passionate about it, but man, I ain't never seen no shit like that before in my life, and hopefully never see no shit like that again, because I'll probably end up fucking one of them up.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that blows my mind.
Should we put this up for a poll? rock throwing guy versus YouTube. I don't know. Do we want to call them YouTube dildos? What are they? What are they? Fucking
I'd
assholes?
call them content. Let's come up with a good term. If you guys in the comments, I'm thinking of riffing off of content creators or content fakers, maybe.
Catch and recatch.
Oh, catch and recatch.
That's their names, right?
I like that.
Catch and recatch.
Catch and recatch. That's a fucking good one. I like that. So yeah, I think we should do a poll. Andy jumps in here though with a good one, and he says, lady kayaker going out of her way to get within casting range of Shawn and I. Fuck that lady.
Put her up there too. There's 3.
Yeah, there's 3.
So kayak lady.
Kayak lady.
Yeah, that was. I see. I remember that vaguely, but I remember more that the woman that cut straight across. I was in a tournament at Snippatuit last year, and I was casting at a reed line, and I was maybe 30 feet from it, and she cut between me and the reed line.
Oh, I hate that.
And just looked at me. I'm like, what the fuck? You want to take a fucking whopper plopper in the head? Because that's what I'm throwing. I'm not like meaning to, but you literally walked right in my cast. Or paddled right in front of my cast. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really, we might have to make a whole separate podcast for fuck this guy. Are we ready for a spinoff?
I mean, it's going to happen one way or the other. We're going to get there, and there's plenty of content, and our listeners are fired up clearly with info about that. So I do like the idea of utilizing the polls to kind of get some of that this info out there, and then turn it back around and talk about what the results were. Like that 3-way tie blew my mind. I gotta go. If I'm going to vote, I gotta vote for those kids, freaking catching and recatching.
Yeah, that's just torture.
Well, first off, it's complete disrespect for any outdoorsman whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like, have some respect for nature. Secondly, also, you never get ahead when you try to bullshit people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might get some likes or some whatever or something like that, but let me tell you something. Like, my eyes have kind of really been open to this recently, and tournament directors, especially CPR tournament directors, they kind of have the tools to be able to figure out if a pattern is the same on a fish from, a video still or something. You'd be amazed at what can be done. So, something like that comes along and you can't bounce back from that. Your reputation has gone to shit. If you're trying to build and you're trying to be an influencer, your reputation is everything, if you think about it. And we're going to talk, that's a whole separate other conversation that we're going to have down the road regarding, and I've been using sort of YouTube as the catch-all, but it's more than YouTube. It's like every content creator at all, whatever the platform is, but specifically fishing content creators, what are you watching? What are you into? And I'm only using YouTube as the primary example, because that's you specifically go and watch these videos at that site. At Instagram, there's a bunch of other stuff going on, but so that's kind of where my sort of head is at for all this stuff. But man, I'm telling you, it fires me up. I'm like, come on, on the one hand, it's like you have no respect for the sport or for nature. And then at the same time, you're like, oh yeah, but we're just going to fake our way to the top. That never works, because when you fall so hard and you can't bounce back up.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
Fuck them. Fuck those guys. I don't think we need a poll, but I'm going to do a poll because I like that. It was fun. I like that. Oh, we got Josh Escobar jumping in, says that he's going to jump in and mention some of these submissions. Mike Long, baby, fuck that guy. I don't know who Mike Long is, but we'll find out, I'm sure. And then Andy chimes in. He says, integrity is like your virginity. You can only lose it once. That's exactly right. And think about it. Is that the way you want to lose it? Being a 16-year-old freaking kid on social media, trying to be the next hot shot, fishing content creator. And then come to find out you're like, oh, the patterns on all the fish that we're catching are matched. And people know about this shit now. And nobody wants to pay me to, promote their products.
Mike Long. I remember this. I just didn't know the name. Mike Long got filmed snagging fish out of beds in California.
Oh, that's shitty.
Yeah. He had a reputation on tour that he sucked ass, and and somebody finally filmed him playing silly little fucking reindeer games, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, it's no good. Because that's all it takes, man, and it's done deal. But yeah, so thanks to both Tim and Steve submitting those entries. And like I said, I mean, there were a bunch that had come in, and people were like, "I got somebody," or they didn't necessarily have all the details or something. And like, if you guys have somebody that you want to submit, DM me, remind me, and we'll go ahead and put that in there. So, freaking bananas, dude.
Yep.
And that's what I was going to talk about, man. So Alex, Swamp Rat Fishing. He had put a video out, was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday night. He put a video out, and it was about power versus finesse fishing.
Yes.
That's what it was. Power versus finesse fishing. And initially, I know I said I was going to send you the, he did a great job with that video, by the way. Like, if you watch that, a lot of what he says, like when you get to the end of it, comes around full circle, and I agree wholeheartedly. But I want to say this, like, a lot of times, people start to, people will oftentimes start getting into using that word versus in a way that, and I get it, believe me, I do the same thing. Like, there's times where I'll do such, hey, this versus this, or this versus this. And it's to get a reaction. Like, I understand where that comes from, utilizing that. It'll get people to think like, oh, I'm all this, or I'm all this. It's like that. Remember a long time ago, I did something about, bait caster versus spinning reel, and it's not so much that it's versus, it's that the two things, they have to kind of work together, Like, the two things, they're sort of lumped in together. It's like golf clubs, you know what I mean? Like, you got to use the right tool for the job. And that's ultimately, I feel like, what Alex's video ultimately got to. But, power fishing has its place, but there's so many variables involved. You know what I mean? The angler, how their cadence, things like that you can't really just, like, nail down. So I kind of want to jump in that. Shawn, do you have anything you want to add versus, power versus finesse or power and finesse fishing?
No, I like the fact that really versus, I don't know, I'm with you. I don't think versus really fits what Swamp Rat was going at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing. Like, I understand. I use it too. Yeah. I do all the time. Like, it gets this sort of like, I'm team this. I did just recently, Senko versus Fluke. They both have their place. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you're thinking about it in the big picture, you can see that really easily. But like, it's that knee-jerk reaction of like this one, Yeah.
I just want to play on that a little bit.
Go for it.
So I kind of wince a little bit when I hear absolutes in fishing, and especially when it comes to like hearing, I hear it on occasion. Like, I'm going to go out and do this with this lure. I always think like, it's good to like have a starting point.
Yep.
But not like, I'm just going to throw this lure. A great example when we were growing up is like, okay, so you want to learn to use a lure, just go out with that lure, right? And just bring that. Like, if you want to learn a jig, just bring a jig. I don't think that works because how do you know that the conditions are right for that particular lure? And what's going to happen is the person using it is going to get very disappointed that nothing's happening unless they go out on the absolute perfect conditions for a certain lure.
Yep.
And then they catch a bunch of fish and that's all they use. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's more important.
I think I hear what you're saying. Like,
to build like a broad base and not just be a power fisherman, not just be a finesse fisherman. Learn what the fish are going after. Learn more about nature where you're at. Learn what animals and what creatures, or whatever, that the bass or whatever you're targeting are eating in your local areas or wherever you're fishing. Yep. Like one of the, like you and I had an off camera conversation a couple weeks ago about hot lure colors per year. Like there's always one or two hot lure colors, right? Recently, the past couple of years, it's been that fire craw, particularly with chatterbaits. That, fire craw popped up, what was it, like 5 years ago? I want to say it was Iconelli. I might be wrong on that. Somebody won a Bassmaster, an early Bassmaster event with a fire craw type lure. I want to say it was a small crankbait that they were running over riprap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I saw it explode. And then it got adapted at some point for chatterbaits. And then now everybody's got that fire craw. I don't know what to say about it. Like, is anyone having a ton of luck? Because, I mean, we know this year, I got some fire craw stuff. I'm using that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do the conditions dictate that? Like, I haven't seen the lake. Again, it's like, that's like saying, hey, what are you going to do tomorrow on the golf course? I'm going to hit my 7-iron.
Yep.
Why? Are you only hitting par 3s? I mean, what the fuck? What are you doing? I'm hitting my 7-iron. Are the conditions right for the 7-iron? Where's your lie? You know what I mean? It always comes back to that golf analogy. I think that's a really, really good way to put it.
It works well.
But like this tournament that I just was in, a great example. Body of water I've never fished. I didn't say I'm going to do this. I went out with all my 5 rods and I looked at like, okay, it's a northeastern lake. There's yellow perch. There's bluegill.
Yep.
Guaranteed. You might have pickerel. There were trout in there. Like, what do I want to match? There's going to be some sort of shiners, whether it's golden or emerald. What am I going to try to do here? Now, the fish may or may not be on the spawn. There's so many things. And I loosely start with like 5 things.
Yeah.
1 on each rod. And we'll see where the day takes me because I might get out there and on my search bait rod have something with rattles in it.
Yep.
And I asked you and Nelson one day, and I remember seeing the looks on your faces, like you guys had never considered this. I actually said, do you guys feel there's lakes that you could classify as lakes you can be productive at with a rattling lure versus not? And both of you two looked at each other like we never even crossed our fucking minds. And I do. Like that's actually I'm building yet another tab in my database for lakes, and that's going to be one of the things that I put on there. Do fish respond well to rattles in this lake? Like whether it's a fucking lipless rattler, a lipless crankbait, or a plastic with a rattle inserted in it. Like, do they respond to that? Because I've found lakes that sometimes you can't catch a fish for the life of you with a rattling or like a chatterbait, like a heavy vibrating lure.
Yep.
On most conditions. Then you go out there in the rain and that's all they'll hit. It's just, you never know.
It's that one variable that's in there that maybe sets it off where it works.
Yeah. Like, well, I think with some rattling lakes, for example, if we're going to go down this little tangent, a lot of them I found, I think fit a certain pattern where they're heavily populated.
Yep.
And small. My little pond in my backyard is a great example. Like, it's really tough to catch fish on rattling lures here because I think the fish, with their lack of cover and just general skittishness, like there's nothing that makes that much noise in the water, and they don't go after it. But then again, it was raining one day, and I hooked my personal best largemouth out of my pond on a chatterbait. So like, I think the rain, because it's already loud and it's just pounding, all the rain is just reverbing in the water.
It kind of dampens it, you think?
Yes. All of a sudden, a chatterbait doesn't stand out as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. That makes sense.
But bottom line, getting back to what I'm saying is like, without knowing conditions, it's really, really, really difficult to say, I'm going to go out and I'm just going to throw this lure. I wouldn't do that because, again, it can lead to negatives. Like, we haven't found the right time, and that comes with experience, a lot of experience. For me.
No, I can definitely get behind that. It's interesting too, because like, I think that like you gotta, so Josh makes a good point here. I want to throw this in here before I go on my tangent. He says each has their own place for sure, often in the same day. I wholly agree with that. He says he prefers to power fish, but better believe that finesse cashes checks. Ha ha ha. And then he follows up to say that I get what you're coming from, but something like swim bait fishing, you literally have to bring only a swim bait setup and just pound it out. I think like if you're learning a presentation, I feel like that's a unique situation. If you're learning a presentation, like for instance, last summer for me, it was all about, I was like, I want to learn more about topwater frog fishing. So I was going out with that, and I was targeting water where I was like, where's this going to work? And I had a handful of places in mind that I would go to. Jig fishing, when I go back a couple years beyond that, same thing. It would be, I would tie on a 3/8 ounce Arky jig, and I would fish that thing judged only by the water clarity. So if it was clear to stained, I was going to throw, green pumpkin or PB&J. If it was real dirty, I was going to throw black and blue. Stained of just chocolate milk, I was going to throw black and blue.
Dude bud,
yeah. And that was exactly it. Like that's how I got it. So like, I definitely get that. And same thing I feel like goes for swim baits, because honestly, what was it? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday I went out and I was fishing those beds, and I have a brand new Savage weedless bluegill swim bait that was just spot dead on balls, exactly what was in front of these beds for size presentation, dead on for the bluegill that were there. But it wasn't the right presentation. I gave it probably about half a dozen casts trying to work it out. It was just a little bit too heavy, and it wasn't doing it. I was able to actually do a little bit better with the swim jig. No, I take that back. Actually, I downsized and I went to a tube. Is what I did. I went to a green pumpkin candy tube, and it was just one of those deals. But it's like you just have to, if you're learning something, you got to go out with that and just like hammer it out. But as far as like getting down to like finesse fishing, and it's just more about like planning ahead of time, even if it's the unknown, taking what you know about a body of water and then applying it somehow. So like when I went out Saturday, I had an idea. I hadn't seen this body of water yet, but I knew that the depth was only so much, and I knew the likelihood of that grass being up just under the surface was crazy high. So I wasn't going to throw a rattle trap. I'm not going to be able to rip it. It's not deep enough for me to be able to rip off any of that grass. I'm not going to throw a chatterbait. I know it's going to be pretty clear.
I would throw a chatterbait in that condition, because you can run a chatterbait high.
Yeah, but
I did on Thursday just to check it out. There was a lot of submerged grass, and I ran it right over it.
About half of the area that we were fishing, the grass was probably about 2 inches under the surface.
Oh, see, that's too high. Okay,
that's way too high. And that's the thing. When I say it's choked up, it is crazy. Plus, and the pads are growing in too, And I got to tell you, I got to start playing around more with buzz toads. I really want to give that a good fair shake. And start fooling around with some of that, getting cute with buzz toads, because I don't love throwing a topwater frog and working it traditionally when I'm in the kayak. I like to. I'm kind of thinking I want to just cover more water and do it a little bit quicker. So that was my goal, and my 2021 goal was basically find fish. Finding fish for me, I'm the reverse. I'm the guy that is much more comfortable throwing a drop shot Ned rig, a jig and working it slow, crawling it on the bottom, a shaky head, something like that, and working it well. Moving baits, not my strong suit. And this year I'm working to change that. So rattle traps and chatterbaits have been doing great for me, but I've also gotten on really good with a swim jig, which helped me with all that grass a lot better. Using that grass. And I got to give Alex Swamp Rat a shout out for that. He did a video recently about swim baits, and he was just like, this is a good sort of guide, was when you got a ton of grass and you're not going to be able to throw a chatterbait and get like down in it. He's like, swim jig is a great opportunity to go ahead and throw it in. Like, is it possible you're going to snag some grass? For sure. But at the same time, you'll be able to drop it back down and then rip it back up. And it actually worked out great. But the other one was a weightless fluke.
And when I real quick, Bobby, when I use a swim jig, I actually have 1 or 2 bodies of water that I use it at. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm good with it, and I just reel it straight through. I don't let it drop. I don't do shit with it. I just reel it.
I vary that cadence up a lot. Like all cast. It depends. It really depends. Like if I get a bite somewhere, I'll mix it up to try to like leave it kind of as close in the strike zone as possible. But it's funny, the other bait that I tied on, the one that I think really got it caught me half my fish, and it got a bunch of bites, was a weightless fluke. And swimming it in the grass like that was it was ideal. It was perfect. But it was that sort of like one of those walk the line between kind of a finesse presentation and a power fishing presentation. Like, yeah, it's covering water. It was really great. And I even changed out the fluke that I was using. I was using a Guggen Dart, which is awesome, but the fall was a little bit too quick. You know, I'd get deep into the grass a little bit too quick. And what I did was I switched to a Z-Man 4-inch jerk shads. And this sucker, because it's a little bit more buoyant. And it was could just glide right over the tips of those grass. And it was just getting hammered. You know, I just get some strikes. I didn't catch. I had one on a hook that jumped at the last minute. It was tiny little, like 8-inch, probably could have been even been a rock bass. I think you and I talked about that. How it may have been a rock bass because it didn't look like a largemouth. And I don't think there's any smallmouth in this body of water at all.
So Josh is throwing a couple things up here I want to address real quick.
Yep, let's do it.
So I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start with his latest. So he says, buzzbaits on kayaks work well to substitute the frog. I can't get a good hook second on the kayak. So I'm just going to tell you, Josh, my quick evolution of this. I threw buzzbaits for years, high school into college. And then I discovered somewhere around early 2000s, the Zoom horny toad, because I couldn't get buzzbaits through some of the shit I wanted to get it through. Buzzbaits then got replaced out of my tackle box because Zoom horny toads did everything a buzzbait did. What they also do is they sink. They don't float. They sink, just like a buzzbait, right? So at that point, I said, well, I've got to try something different because they don't stay in places that I want them to stay long enough. So then I kept a combination of Zoom horny toads plus hollow body frogs. Then I still keep a couple of hollow body frogs in various in just certain colors that aren't mimicked really well. But right now, the item that I carry that does all the jobs that I want it to do is the Sprinker Teckle frog.
Yeah, I'll let you know, and you're not the only person I've heard that from, though, Sean. A lot of people love that frog.
You can stop that thing dead, and it floats. It makes a nice big weight. It plops like a whopper plopper.
Yep.
I use those, I think, more than anything else right now.
I got to look into one of those.
Debo likes them too. Yeah, you got to poke around for them. They're not like sometimes certain tackle stores will have them. Sometimes you got to order them online. You never know. Ask Joe. I'm sure he'll be able to get you something.
Oh yeah.
So this one is kind of a more interesting question Josh asks. So the big question would be if you pull up to a brand new body of water, are you going solely based on your conditions, or will you have one or two of your confidence base tied on no matter what? The whole point of my database is to establish that the lures that I have been successful with since 2009. So everything I carry is a confidence bait because I've caught fish that are big with them.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to think about it. I know, like, oh yeah, I could pick up this lipless crankbait. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one day I caught 3-4 pounders on it. Or I pick up this black chatterbait. Hey, I was out night fishing and I caught 4 fish that were over 5 pounds. I remember that. Or remember this lure. You know, I can go through that memory wise, but writing it down and looking at it allowed me to filter out. Like I really thought like a Zoom brush hog, and I mentioned this a couple shows ago, was a huge confidence bait for years. But then I looked at my records. I didn't catch a fish over 15 inches on it. How is that attaining my goal? I mean, if I want to go out and catch a bunch of little fish, sure, I'm confident with it, but it wasn't helping me get where I want to go. So when I like we did say this last week, I asked you, and I was serious, like, who do you know, Bobby, that carries less tackle than I do?
Very few people. Yeah.
I would say nobody.
Well, I've seen some guys at the park walking around with one rod with a whopper plopper on at noon.
All right, who's competitively fishing that you know that carries less tackle? Yeah,
nobody. So everybody else basically has a black box that's got 6 boxes in there, chock full of everything. Yep.
I've got five tackle boxes. All right, they're what are they? 3,500, 5,500 series? I forget what they are. Whatever the fuck they are. The waterproof big ones.
3,700s or 50. Yeah, 3,700.
I thought they were 55s, no? Whatever the fuck they were. But when you look at my box, it's all the same lures. It's a lipless crankbait in 4 different shades that I trust. And each compartment has multiple of the same shade because if I'm out there and I lose one and I'm on a bite or I'm in a tournament, I don't want to say, oh, fuck, that one lure was getting bites for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't have another one. So I keep 2 or 3 of every one. And then I have more in the basement. You know, I just have if I find shit on sale that I'm confident in, I just buy it. and I know I'm going to use it. Like one day, I brought up floating Rapalas a couple times. There's 2 patterns I use in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw, this was years ago.
That was my third bait, by the way.
What?
Floating Rapala.
Oh yeah. I recommended that because you said it was tied up to the surface. But floating Rapalas aren't cheap. They've gotten really expensive over the past few years. And I found this was like 5 or 6 years ago, well before Old Glory was even in existence. I found a online tackle dealer that had them half price sale. And I looked at my wife and I said, these things are expensive. And if I'm going buy one, get one free, I'm buying a shitload of them. And I did. I still have a box of those things down in the basement that I'm working through. But like, okay, so Josh is thrown in. Reason he asked about confidence point is because I go into co-angling tourneys with one backpack, 6 different presentations. I feel like my options, I can find the quality. See, I would just like when I go on Andy's boat, if I have to trim down what I'm bringing, I will bring really, out of those 5 tackle boxes, my top water box has kind of got the most kitchen sinks in it and stuff I'm trying. And honestly, half of it's going to be gone by next week because I already said the rat and the whopper ploppers, they're cute, but they're taking up real estate.
Yeah.
I can do more, I can spread my lures out and not have as many hook tangles. So I'll be doing a lot with that. But I mean, really, my jig box goes with me everywhere. If I go with Andy, I take some of my terminal tackle that I feel I'm going to need. Just, Ned heads is pretty common I go with. Sometimes I'll bring 4 or 5 if it's situational for that.
Yep.
But my jig box, which has my chatterbaits in it, as well as my jigs, and my crankbait box, my jerkbait box, all go. I split up my terminal box, and then I never bring my topwater box. I might bring 1 or 2 lures if I feel the need.
Mm-hmm.
But like I used to be this huge topwater fisherman, and for whatever reason, I've evolved over the years where I don't use it as much. I mean, I'd use it circumstantially, it's just I don't rely on it like I used to.
Well, and what's interesting is like when I just realized this, I hadn't even thought about this, but you bring on your kayak, you bring 5 boxes. I bring 1 everywhere.
But
yeah,
does that 1 stay the same every time you go out?
No, definitely not.
That's kind of different, man.
Exactly. And that was the point I wanted to make. I bring 1 box. I bring a binder for my soft plastics. The plastics stay the same. Because I've got them separated into like swim baits, stick baits, creatures craws, stuff like that. And basically what I'll do is I'll say there's certain things that I will always have in this box. So the terminal tackle, I'm always going to have, swinging football head jigs in there. I'm always going to have a handful of jigs that are going to work for a specific situation. My thought process is that the things that I'm changing out often are not necessarily like the moving baits as a whole. It's more about like the colors and clarity based on the water condition there, and also like the vegetation. That's what I'm going to change out. So like if I'm, I'll carry a few topwater items in there. I always try to have like the most versatile stuff. So like my topwater frog that I'm going to carry is a poppin' frog because I can use it in so many different ways. Yep. I have like if I know I'm going to a place that's got a lot of open water, I'll do like a Zara spook or a whopper plopper or something like that, and then sometimes the species come into play too,
So what I'm getting at is I know you're still starting with this database, but you're going to look at this like 5 years from now. And you're going to go, holy
I'll have
shit.
real numbers to weigh it against, like and actually, so it's so funny you say that because this just started happening. I want to bring and I want to talk with Angler about doing some more stuff. But so I went and I uploaded the stuff from this weekend, and I looked at my profile, and I don't know if there was an update, but I'm starting to get breakdowns on Angler of the baits that perform the best.
Does it have? I mean, I know you're not too worried about length right now, because you're not really in a lot of tournaments.
No. It doesn't have any breakdowns by that or anything. It's just, this is just like a rough guide. I have, that's exactly why it gets down to, there's no real quality way to know this information unless you do it yourself. It's like you got to take that. But the reason why I use this app is it gives me a glance as to like, okay, so what's catching the most fish? Well, I mean, I'm only 3 months into using this, and the most fish are being caught on crankbaits, and then the second is soft baits. Jigs are third, and then others, those are probably jerk baits is what they are, just because I know what I've thrown in the last few months, I might have one on a chatterbait. That's going to fall under the jig category. But it's like I try to build my box for that day based on what I'm getting into, even if what I'm getting into is what I think I'm getting into based on whatever knowledge I can put together ahead of time,
So I guess what we're looking at is what I bring with me is what I have. Both at home, I just have spares of it. But this is what, like, those 5 boxes are my confidence baits. And I bring them everywhere. And I feel that those confidence baits, through the combinations I've made, I can tackle any water in the Northeast. Let me be clear about that.
Yeah.
Because once you get out of the Northeast, like if I need to go to a clear lake, I'll be fine. I make very, very few adjustments. Great point, though. I made an adjustment this weekend that I told you about. There was a Ned rig that normally I wouldn't buy this particular color, but I literally buy plastics in 3 colors.
That's kind of how I'm 4. I'm 4.
3 colors. Yeah. So I can do everything I want with 3 colors. And one of the colors was not available in this particular Ned rig that I like, this particular plastic. And unfortunately, it's not a mold that Damien at Stretching Lines carries. So he knows that on occasion I have to stray from the golden path. But we got to do what we got to do. The guy can't fucking just buy molds. They're not cheap. So I picked up this one particular Ned rig a couple years ago, this Ned plastic, and I love it to death. It does a pretty good job. And they don't make it in one of my favorite colors, one of my 3 reliable colors. So I was at I don't know where the fuck I was. I was at the sporting goods store, and I happened to see a somewhat similar color. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's a neat color. That's pretty close. And I said, I'll buy a couple of bags just for shits and grins for this tournament.
Yeah.
Every single fish, from the smallest rock bass and bluegill to the carp, I got on that fucking color that I made. That one little adjustment crazy. I made.
Well, and I think that part of that also gets down to your old saying. Like, you went to this lake that you hadn't fished prior to this week, and you showed them your brand of bullshit.
My particular brand of bullshit.
And I think that's part
Josh is going to have a fucking stroke if we don't answer this question.
I know.
Josh, I use the Chatterbait fucking elite models.
I use Z-Man Originals. I've also used clickbaits. I have also used lead-free bass jigs. I have also used, I used those Striking Pure Poisons years ago. They were fine, but they changed the head design, and that made me go away from it. And then Z-Man also has some chatterbaits that have like a wobble head on them. It kind of has like an extra long neck EWG hook attached to it, and there's just a huge presentation. But I've used those before, and they're pretty good too.
Yeah. So I mean, we definitely went on a tangent from this question originally,
totally.
or the issue of finesse versus power. But I mean, all I can say is, do your research on yourself and figure out what you're good at and what you're showing results at, and if you want to get numbers, find out the lures that are getting you numbers. If you're like
looking
myself,
for size,
if you're looking for size and like find out what size you're looking for. I drew a line in the sand, and I don't, I still kind of feel this way.
Yeah.
A 17-inch fish starting at 17 is my line, where I feel that 17 inches and above are going to be valuable in tournaments. So I watch that data very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
And it
pays off.
Well, yeah, you know what? It did pay off, really, because I won that Quabog. I came in second at the Buckley Dunton.
Mm-hmm.
I took a shit at Wishakem, but I did hook a big fish and landed. I just apparently suck balls, so that's what I do. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm monitoring. I need those big fish in bags at any given lake.
Yep.
So I make sure my tackle is extremely versatile, and I can trust it, and I depend on it. So I hope that answered your question, Josh.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think that's
and good night. I see he's leaving.
Yeah. I think that about does it for this show, man. I think we smashed this one out of the park. I think we did pretty damn good, to tell you the truth.
I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm fucking so tired.
I think you should. I think you've earned it.
I had an exploding barbed wire fucking steel cage death match with a goddamn 20-pound carp today, and my shoulder feels like it fell out of its fucking socket.
I believe it, man. I believe it, dude. Oh, well, hey, let's go out on this song. We'll play out this song. We'll call it a day. This is going to be just one segment. I'm going to drop the 3 bells spot right in the middle. Guys, thank you so much for coming out and checking out this podcast. We appreciate you guys. Remember, we still have about a week and a half left of our competition for our listeners. Download that Fishing Chaos app. Remember, guys, we love our good friends at Old Glory Outdoors, 3 Bells Outfitters, and of course, Hookset Hoodlums. That is some hoodlum shit right there. I got some t-shirt designs I gotta get out in the works. That's going to be coming soon. Lots of great stuff. We love our listeners. We love our jig heads. Thanks so much, everybody. Get out there. Have yourself a good one. And like I say at every show, tight lies.